Hey y'all, how's it going? I'm trading the ES futures on a 2000 tick chart with a 21 EMA. So I've got the overnight high up here and the overnight low down here. These are our key levels for the day. And I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. Now, notice here when we bounce up, that obviously forms our overnight low. We have this uptrend, break, new high. We actually successfully make a new high and then have two attempts to reverse. So second entries, these two-legged moves, they don't form from nothing. It's all about attempts, attempting to reach magnets, attempting to play out. There's all sorts of different things. So after this uptrend played out, you had two attempts to reverse, and then when you held above the EMA, you rocketed off there. So this was a failure. This was a reversal failure, which I almost forgot to mention. We have this downtrend. So downtrend, and it's very common, two-legged breaks. Notice that when we break out here, we get these two legs up, and then after those two legs up, we have these two attempts at making a second major leg down. So it wasn't just a reversal failure from these two legs up. You also had this bigger trend in play. Got that two-legged break. You had that first attempt at a new low, second attempt, failure. And so you had a failure of two different things there. That's probably why it was such a strong failure. It rocketed off there. And, so it might be hard to see as it's going by if you haven't trained your eyes on it enough yet. But you can see here, when we made those two attempts to reverse, the failure, it's very common, right when you're getting that failure, you're often going to be getting your bigger picture leg. And so notice that you have basically two measured legs there. And so, say you're in the moment, and I'm going to go through this just for a sec so people can learn to spot this in real time. Say you're, you have these two legs up right here. It played out. You have two attempts to reverse. In this moment, you should be thinking, I have two legs up. It has two attempts to reverse, and it's not really doing so well on reversing. We could have a failure, and it's very choppy here. So I don't think that I don't think it's good to buy here at all. This is very choppy. I don't think this is a good long at all. But the point is, you can learn to expect when a second major leg is going to happen, because when you get that failure, you combine those two original legs into one, you drag the second leg to the failure, and you have a perfect measured move. It might be off by one tick, but that's basically a perfect measured move. So that's right when we turn down, and the reason that this this is so low right here, and instead of higher up, is because just let me get that back to exactly where it was, and that's because we had with these two legs up here, it was clearly pretty consistent with this channel here. Now you have to take it one level at a time, one price action level at a time. And so we clearly have two legs up, reacting very strong, expecting a second leg down for this, larger downtrend leg. And so I wasn't going to not enter just because we had, this possible wider channel in play. As a matter of fact, given the context, you could expect a break of this channel to make a new high anyway. And so you gotta take it one price action level at a time. And not to mention, it was going sideways. At the time, I had these lows of this range down here. Of course, you extend it as, more price action forms, you extend the range. And so, it was also a fade. And we pushed lower here. I had to push it out a little bit. It didn't really bother me because it was kind of iffy on the lows. I could have been pushing it out a few ticks or a couple. But very good context, and we found resistance right at this swing right here. So when you burst through the previous resistance level and find resistance at at like a single breakout from earlier, it's very common. You can extend it to there, kind of adjust it around. I ended up leaving it like there, I think. And so anyway, so that's why I like this right here. Now we push on lower here. Now we start getting this second leg down, and I want to address going long in this area here. I did not enter long, but I'm going to go through it. So I just want to show with this measured move here that at this point you do still have this down measured move in play, and you did have an early bounce in this range. So you are more bearish at this point with a down measured move in play. Now I don't think it's wrong to attempt to go long right here, even on this case, which I'll get into here. So we have this second leg down. We have two legs down here. Now we can expect two attempts to reach this measured move. So like downtrend, break, first attempt lower, second attempt lower. And at this point, we only have that first attempt lower. Now, considering on a small picture, or a smaller picture, it's not really small picture, you do still have 2 legs down, and then on this second leg, you have a break and a couple attempts, and then you rush above. Now, this structure right here, this range, I do think it's good to enter, but only to that range, not to push it out. I noticed many people who took this, they didn't have this range drawn, which it was sometimes ranges are a little bit more iffy when they have a trend going through them, but when it held right here, that's reconfirming to me that this range is valid. And so the point is, it looks like a good entry, but you have to look at the bigger picture structures. And on the big picture, you have these two major, you have this big measured move in play, you're overall bearish. So I would not try to push it past this previous resistance level, because the previous resistance levels, that's where the bigger moves are going to come from anyway, if you have larger structures in play. And so, I wouldn't push it past this. Like I said, you just have too many bigger picture things in play. Now here, this is where I tried to get a short to actually get in on that second attempt lower here, to get in on reaching this measured move down. Now here we had 2 legs up here. From this point here, I viewed this as like a big picture failed second entry, so you can see first entry long, second entry long, failure. Now there is a problem here though. So you can see here, which this measured move isn't completely accurate because it's supposed to be, I wish I didn't even, sorry. All right, here we go. So you have this measured move up right here. Now, it is in play at this point still, and it didn't reach it, but we also had this trend line in play. So this entry, it was into this trend line, and also still, it technically had this measured move in play. Now, we had bigger structures in play, and so that's why I like this. To be honest, I basically missed this trend line, to be quite honest. Sometimes you can get tunnel vision. There's kind of a lot going on in this range, and I just kind of missed out on that for some reason. But it was into this trend line and also had this measured move in play. Now, I do think that it looks generally good, and there was probably a high chance that it would have won, even considering these things, given the bigger picture, but it's not guaranteed. And so that was my mistake, combining this measured move in play with this trend line. I should have waited on something better, maybe an attempt down, and then I could have gotten a pullback in a smaller trade with room. But so this ended up getting burned. I got stopped out on that. Now we push on up here, and so clearly when we push up, we start going into this range right here. But you can see that you're getting bigger picture legs. Just like those, we had a couple legs up here turn into bigger picture legs. Now it's turning into even bigger picture legs, because clearly, hold on, sorry, I don't mean to say clearly. I understand that it's not clear to everybody. That's just a habit to say. But we make the second leg up here. Now this is another failure, kind of like right here. We had 2 legs up, 2 attempts to reverse, and then we failed up higher here. Kind of like right here. We have 2 attempts down, okay? Measured move still in play, and then when we push back up, we have another smaller 2-legged move, and we fail out of there. And so we start going into this range right here. We get this breakout, and we fade back up. Now, I don't think that there's a good entry here, because there is a very strong first entry, very bearish, very sharp pushing out, and then it gets choppy at the entry, so absolutely no way. And then even when it pushes above here, I still do not like entering this, even if you tried to get in with a limit order, because it's just after a first entry. Even if you get a sharp break, you can still make a second leg down. Now here, you push up a little bit more, we get a second attempt down. So you have 2 attempts. We have this trend line in play, so it's 2 attempts to reach this trend line, because these trend lines act as magnets. And when you have those 2 attempts down and it's holding on this structure, very bullish. Limit order needed on this one. Look at the stop entry. That's way too far pushing out of resistance. So a stop is needed on this one. But I like this one. Also, measured move in play. At this point, when it's reversing successfully, that's just telling you this range is winning out over this big measured move down. And so we had this up measured move in play. This uptrend has been holding. We have 1, 2, 3 bounces off of it. We just had 2 attempts to reach it. Very bullish, push higher. So that's why I like that. Now here, when we push up, it was just very bullish, so I'm not going to go short, especially when it's getting that choppy. But then when we do get back down to the range lows, it's just a first entry. I see that to the tick, there's a tick higher there, but this is clearly within one trend. To me, I just see a first entry here blocked by the short-term trend line, so no way for a long here for me. But we do push up here. We reach that measured move. That up measured move is met. It just blasts on through it, and we get this. We break out of the overnight high. We get this first entry. You want to see 2 attempts to fade before you buy with the breakout. So I don't like going long here because, which I also want to get into that overshoot, of course, but when you break out of an overnight high or a range, you want to see 2 attempts to fade. Because then if you enter on it after 2 attempts to fade, you enter with the breakout, it's a fade failure. So it's much more likely to successfully break out. So you just don't get that there. Now we push up here, we have a new high, and then we get choppy. But what I would want to see, once again, because, after you break out of the overnight high and you get a count reset, it starts over. You want to see 2 attempts down from there. And we only get 1 attempt. Sometimes people try to trick themselves into seeing 2 attempts. They'll be like, first attempt, second attempt. No, it was just a range, and then he had 1 attempt down. And so same thing here. You really want to see 2 attempts to fade. You don't just want to buy a breakout after 1 single attempt to fade. It does end up working here. We push up, we push back down, kind of going into this range here. And now let me draw out this trend line and just show. When you get another entry right here, I know it's a triple test, and there's going to be a lot of people who like triple tests that are going to want to take this, but it is blocked by this trend line. And I understand, seeing, going through these 3 breakout pullbacks that are all basically one leg, winning 3 times in a row. But that doesn't mean you're going to have consistency if you attempt to enter on first attempt breakout pullbacks. I would want to see 2 clear legs down here. Unfortunately, it's just, 1 leg down. So I would not want to enter into that. But we do push on up here. We get this, so now we have this lower high here. What I would want to see here is, because remember, you have an overshoot. Overshoots of these channels lead to breaks. They lead to sharper breaks, which, I almost forgot to mention that regarding the breakout pullback. Overshoots of channels, they lead to breaks. They lead to sharper breaks than normal. And so I would really want to see 2 attempts down, because if you can expect a sharper break and you only have 1 attempt down, what's stopping you from going a little bit higher and making a second leg down? And, in this case here, you would have won every time anyway, but you're not going to be able to, it's not going to happen like that every time. And so anyway, clearly we're getting these 2 legs down here now. I do think it's good to look for a long now that we have 2 big picture legs down. And so if we can get something, I'm hoping we get out of this chop, maybe we can, form like a small breakout pullback with a higher low, and we can possibly ride something to these highs. And so that's a possibility for sure. Quad test, but even on a triple test, you basically just had this sharp push up, break, new high, strong reversal down, blocking by STT. So unfortunately not. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I hope it helped out in some kind of way. I did enjoy making it. I hope you enjoyed watching it. And, yep, I'll see you next time.